Now, before we start this video, I want to clarify a few things to hopefully save face as much as I can moving into this. This is essentially going to be a VIII review, but something I just need to do for my own sake is reference Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It wasn't for me. There was a lot of things I would have preferred Xenoblade to do differently, and then along came VIII, which did literally all of those things. So I can't help but not compare them. They are very similar RPGs, but fundamentally at their core, they have a lot of really big differences, like the combat, like the characters, like the voice acting, like a lot of the complaints I had with Xenoblade. And I don't want to I don't want to friggin' dig my own grave any more than I already have done. I don't want to upset any new people that maybe haven't seen that Xenoblade video, but I can't help but compare the two in this situation. To start with, myself and a bunch of other YouTubers were provided with a review code for this game over a month ago now, which was really generous. It gave me a lot of time to play through the game, and I absolutely adored it. Instantly hooked on this one. In VIII, you play as Adol. He's an explorer. He's always looking for a new adventure. Him and his friend Dogi, who knows? Him and his friend Dogi are aboard this ship. And I really like the way they set this game up. You are on board this huge ship, and all the characters that you kind of spend the rest of the game with are on board the ship, and you don't realize it yet, but you're meeting them for the first time and getting to know them a little bit for the first time before you get stuck with them on an island for days and weeks and months on end. So I'll get to the island part, but it's always cool when you meet one of those characters again and you're like, oh, I remember you from the ship. I'm actually excited to go back and start the game again just to play through that starting part and see the characters before all hell broke loose. So you're on the ship and hell breaks loose. You're going past this island that's notorious for having ships sink around it or just disappear around it. And of course the captain of the ship thought it was a great idea to sail right past it so Adol could have a look at the island. The ship gets attacked by a kraken. Adol comes out sword swinging and looks like a hero, saves the day, except he doesn't. The ship sinks and then you wash up on shore. And then bit by bit you start finding people from the ship on board the shore. Starting with Laxia, who you find naked and bathing, which I'm not going to complain. However, you do find her literally moments after the ship crashed and she's already naked and bathing and they're mad at you for finding her. Go ahead. Bathe away. But she joins your team, and then later on Sahad joins your team, and that's your main three for a little while. You find more people from the ship, like the captain, like your friend Doggy, who knows, who cares? And you build a little castaway village right at the start of the game, and that's essentially where the game starts. Now you have a castaway village on this huge island, which by the way is actually massive. Starting the game, you really have no scope as to how big this island is. And that's kind of the point, because the characters have no idea how big this island is. You're going out and exploring it, trying to find more members from the crew to bring them back to the village. But the more you explore, the more you realize how dauntingly huge this island is, the kind of creatures it has. You even start discovering primordials, these giant dinosaur creatures, which you can't damage at first because they're too OP. And then your main character, Adol, starts having visions when he goes to sleep at night of this other character named Donna. I know it's spelled Dana, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Donna. I think I'm getting that one right. But when those paths start to really cross for the first time, the actual scope of the world gets revealed, and there's a huge open area. And that's really, I know I haven't talked about the combat yet, but that's really when it started to feel like the Xenoblade game I wanted. When I looked out into the Xenoblade fields and I saw all those creatures, wanted to go out and battle them and have these different experiences, these different fights, but all of the fights for me personally in Xenoblade ended up feeling very similar because they were auto attacks and time button presses. I'm not going to get into the logistics of what makes that amazing or whatever. I know you people love it. Just saying, for me, that wasn't what I was looking for. What I was looking for was more like a VIII experience of you have complete free roam, and it's exhilaratingly amazing. Depending on the creature and how they attack, you're gonna completely change the way you play, even down to the character you play as. You have three main party members that while you're in combat, you can instantly switch between any three of them. They all have very different weapons, very different ways that they attack. For example, Laxia has a pointy stick, and a lot of her attacks are straightforward and straight on. Her abilities have some AoEs and have some different crazy things going on, but mostly you will feel like you're just jabbing forward and doing precision attacks. Whereas Sahad has a huge frickin' axe anchor thing where he'll just swing it around wildly and do massive AoE attacks, and you can't really have precision attacks with him, you just wail. And then of course you have Adol, who has a nice mix of in between using his swordplay, but every character feels very different. Depending on the creature, they might have a weakness to one of your characters in particular, so it might be a better idea to attack this creature with this character. You can wail on them as much as you want with one character, but if it's not their weakness, it's going to be a grind unless you switch. And then if you have multiple characters around you with multiple weaknesses, because you can switch on the fly, you're just switching between characters like crazy, and it just feels so engaging. Not to mention that each character has a ton of different abilities that you can choose between and set 4 of them to different commands. As you play, you unlock more abilities for each character, and then if you use those abilities a lot, those abilities level up as well and become more powerful. And then by killing those enemies and picking up the loot that they drop, or also destroying the rocks and plants that you find along your way and getting items from them, when you go back to your castaway village, you can upgrade your weapons even further. Assuming you found the character that lets you do that, which is another thing. As you play and progress through the story, you'll find more and more characters from the ship, like a doctor or a blacksmith or a tailor. They all offer something different and something unique that helps you improve your character and get stronger. And all these characters are working together with the common goal of getting the heck off this island, finding a way to build a ship and deal with that freaking kraken that's out there in the water so you can finally escape the island. And speaking of all the characters, and as you play, you will find a ton of characters, and you also have your core characters which are in your group and they explore with you. Those are the ones that have the most interaction with you and the most story, obviously, as you're out there exploring. But no matter all the characters, they all have amazing voice acting, all have so much charm, they're all such nice people. It's such an adorable story. Like, you're all stuck on this island, but no one's really freaking out about it. They're all just working together and lending a hand and being insanely nice. All these people are essentially strangers when they're dropped off at the island, bar a few people that knew each other beforehand, but everyone is getting to know each other, and there's actually a sense of family. And I go back to Xenoblade, and the more I do that, the more I realize this might be a bad idea. I had no connection to those characters. And it wasn't just, in my opinion, what was bad voice acting. I really hated the voice acting. The only character I really liked was Pyra. And don't get me started on that little annoying yippy thing, but even still, at the best of times, when the voice acting was actually pretty good, I had no connection to the characters. And sure, I didn't play 30-40 hours in, so maybe more developed. In what I played of that game, there was no reason to really like any of them. But the characters in Years 8 not only start building their own family and their own friendships throughout the game, but it sort of brings you into it as well and makes you feel part of the family in a weird, corny way. Without ruining too many of the storylines and the friendships and relationships, some of my favorites would be Laxia, who right at the start is really uptight, doesn't really want to share any information. In fact, you can go into the bio and see what you've learned about people, and for the longest time, you learn nothing about her because she is so closed off. But then she slowly starts opening up to Adol about her father and her childhood. And the more she starts opening up and the more you get to know about her, the more she starts taking a joke too. Sahad, the big brute with the axe, he's so friendly and nice to everyone. He's like an older brother to the characters. In fact, at one point, they're actually having a conversation about how they have become like family. And I suggested that he was the weird uncle of the group. And that conversation started because of Ricotta, my actual favorite character of the game. I don't want to ruin too much about her because you don't find her for quite a few hours into the game. But right at the start, when you meet her and you learn about her, you find out that she's been on the island her entire life. She's one of the funnest characters to play with. She has these 2 freaking huge stick thing, I don't know what you'd call them. They're massive, and she has all these different crazy attacks. Her abilities are insane. 100% playing as her the whole time. And living on the island her whole life, she didn't really have a family, but she read about them in books that washed ashore. That's what started that family conversation, because she said that it felt like she's had a family like she read about in the books. And just those relationships and the backgrounds of the characters and the character building and the interactions you have, it just gave me so much reason to keep playing. It gave me so much reason to be invested. And again, that was just something I didn't feel in Xenoblade. I didn't feel that connection to any of the characters. But then, as I said, that's only the first half. As you learn more about this other character, Donna, and you discover the temple ruins, that's when the game really feels open world. And all the creatures that you're used to facing, kind of little creatures and the odd big one here and there, suddenly in this open world, there's massive freaking dinosaurs, and some of them which you're better off just staying away from because there's nothing you can do to them. It felt like the entire game had shifted, and suddenly it was maybe let's not rush off this island too quick. There's actually a lot to discover on this island. There's something really interesting going on. And when you actually get to play as her, it's awesome. She's so OP. She's crazy strong. The loading screens are so freaking fast. From area to area, they load in a second. And even if you go straight from your home base to the furthest point away you've unlocked, it's like a second, which I really appreciated on the Switch. I'm used to longer loading times on the Switch, but this thing was instant. However, it's not all positives with this Switch version. I haven't played it on other consoles. I actually haven't even looked at it on other consoles, and I didn't want to because I feel like it might have ruined my experience. To be completely honest, when I first started playing this game, I almost stopped purely because I thought it looked offensive. And I'm glad I pushed past that because the game is such a joy to play, especially in handheld mode. In fact, in handheld mode, I have no complaints. It looks crisp, it looks really nice. Playing it on that smaller screen with everything compacted a little bit more, I had no complaints. It ran so smooth. However, when you put it in the dock and you blow it up on a big TV, while it still runs just as great, some areas look very offensive to me. And it's mostly the grass areas and big open areas with a lot of greenery. Everything looks really jagged. The character models look like they're PlayStation 2. They're so blurry and pixelated. There's nothing nice about the way it looks on a TV. Again, you take that same part of the game, pull it out of the dock, and it looks great on the tablet. And I can tell a big part of that was a decision to cater more towards gameplay because it runs so smooth. There's next to no frame rate issues. I never had an issue in the actual gameplay, and the loading screens are so damn fast. And I think the trade-off for all of that was them just scaling back the game, taking out those textures and just making it look how it looks. And to its credit, that is something that Xenoblade has in its favor massively. Xenoblade looks gorgeous. I always said that. Xenoblade looks absolutely incredible. The fields, the cities, the towns, the scope of the game. It felt so much more big and alive, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. For me, Ys 8 is a game that captured my heart with its huge cast of very lovable and likable characters with fast-paced, exhilarating gameplay. This game has been an absolute joy from start to finish for me, always giving me something new and something exciting and something fresh along the way. Whether it's a new plot point, a new character, a new gameplay mechanic, or just completely shifting the game halfway through and completely changing the focus to a more grand scale. It never disappointed me. I loved it from start to finish. It was fun right from the start. And I think that's really what I was missing in Xenoblade, was the lovable characters and gameplay that was fun from the start. So many people kept telling me in Xenoblade, 20 hours in, 30 hours in, when you get more of those gameplay mechanics fleshed out, that's when the gameplay starts getting really good. But a game like Ys 8 is so fun to play right from the start. And 20 hours in, 30 hours in, they just add more to it and breathe more life into it to make it more fun and more exhilarating from that point. That's my take on the game. I'm sorry for the comparison again, but it was for me, playing it, it was just, this is everything I was missing from Xenoblade. This was everything I was trying to explain in that video. So I'm hoping in this video, if you still had an issue with me not liking the game and the reasons why I didn't like the game, I'm hoping that in this video it sort of was an eye-opening experience for everyone of, oh, that's kind of more the RPG that he personally enjoys. I hope that didn't re-upset anyone. Who knows, it's so easy to upset everyone on the internet. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button, subscribe because I would really appreciate it, and we become best friends. But I love you anyway. And I'll see you all in the next video.